Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran man deported from the United States despite a court order protecting him, remains in detention even after a U.S. judge granted bail. Georgetown University law professor Emily Chertoff says his case now symbolizes President Donald Trump's tough U.S. immigration crackdown.
I think that given how much this is a symbol more than it is a particular case, I think that this administration is very unlikely to just let him stay in the United States. The only way, candidly, I could see that happening is if it stops being an object of media attention. I think the best thing that could happen for Mr. Abrego Garcia is that everybody forgets that this case has happened and it's not actually a symbolic fight for the administration anymore. And so there's no real reason for them to continue trying to deport him so vigorously and using all these resources to do so, when in the end, from an enforcement numbers perspective, he's one person and there are probably better uses from their perspective of enforcement resources. But again, I think that because of the kind of symbolism this has taken on in the public imagination and the share of public attention this has commanded, I think because of that, it is unlikely that there's going to be an outcome where he stays in the United States. So I can't really say what order they'll do the immigration case in, but they have control over the timing of the immigration case. So they can decide, they're going to bring charges. They have more control over how that gets calendared, probably in seeking continuances because it's in front of an immigration judge. And so they may want to delay that case to see what happens with the criminal case before actually actively pursuing that. That would be a strategic question more for the folks at ICE in terms of how they're going to prosecute it, I think. This isn't just one case. It's not about one person's immigration case. This has become a symbol of the Trump administration's entire deportation strategy. It's become a symbol of the fact that they are doing a very aggressive job enforcing immigration law. And it's become a symbol of that both for the administration itself and for opponents of the administration's immigration policies. And so I think you have to view the way this case is being handled through that symbolic lens. I think it's had an incredibly important impact on other people, not just people with a precarious immigration status, but other people with a variety of immigration statuses. I think people are highly aware of this case. And I think it's done a lot to chill people's behavior, make people concerned that they may also be immigration enforcement targets. It's had a very, very high public salience. I think from a typical practice perspective, this is highly unusual, but I think it's fairly obvious what the sort of strategic consideration here is, which is they are technically in compliance with the court order. So they haven't defied the court order that the judge issued in his case in Maryland, but they're doing it in such a way that they are not really conceding the substantive merits that he ought not to have been deported and are looking for a way to continue carrying that out. If they can demonstrate that there's no reason to think the person will be persecuted, there's no basis in asylum law for saying you can't send a person to X or Y or Z country. And persecution has a specific meaning. It doesn't mean nothing bad will happen to them. I think that it's mostly about communicating to people who don't have status and even people who do have status that the immigration enforcement in this administration is going to be extremely strict. I think, and it's not just the fact that they're trying to deport him, but the fact that he was sent to CCOT and that was highly publicized, and everyone has heard about this case, that over 200 people were sent, but he's the primary person whose case has gotten media attention. So I do think it's functioning as like a statement, a message, a symbol, whatever you want to call it, to people about what the nature of immigration enforcement in this administration is going to be. And I will say, when you look at what the administration has done with enforcement, not just of immigration law, but you can also look at things like the executive orders against law firms and some of the other actions it's taken, they know that to enforce the law, you don't actually need to send ICE to every single person's home or office and say, we're going to arrest you. And that particularly if what you're trying to do is not just actually deport people, but kind of drive them underground and drive them out of public life, you can accomplish a lot by having a few cases like this that become highly public.